In this video, you will learn how to add your commission settings. I will explain the various commission setting options you have, how they work, and how they look when applied to booking payments. When you add a new owner, you will add your commission settings here. First, do you take a percentage commission per booking, a fixed amount of commission per day, or a fixed amount of commission per booking? Select the relevant option. Enter the relevant commission figure here. Does your commission rate change throughout the year? If yes, select Commission Rate Varies Seasonally. You'll have the opportunity to change your commission rate seasonally via the Property Price Planner. Enter the VAT percentage on commission if applicable. Here, enter the minimum commission amount you are willing to take. This should be done in whole pounds. You can leave it blank if it isn't required. Minimum owner account value is only applicable if you're using a held on account fund. If you want to be able to hold back money on an owner's statement, which can be used for unforeseen expenses, you can enter the amount here. There's more detailed information on how a held on account works in the held on account training video. Enter an overseas tax charge if applicable. If you want your commission calculated on the booking value before VAT is applied, you should tick this checkbox. All SuperControl rates are inclusive of VAT. Keeping this checkbox ticked means all payments in the owner's statement are ticked to be paid by default. We would advise leaving this setting enabled. It means you won't need to manually tick off each individual payment in the owner's statement to be included in payment runs. Next, add your commission on deposit settings. If you don't take any commission from the guest deposit payment, you take all your commission when the guest pays their balance, keep this option selected. If you take a percentage of your total commission when a guest pays their deposit, you should select this option, percent of total amount due. So for example, you might want to take 50% of your total commission when the guest pays their deposit and the remaining 50% at time of balance. Here's an example booking where I've applied these settings so you can see how it will look. So this booking is for £1,000, which is split into a £250 deposit and a £750 balance. If we scroll down to the bottom of the booking and click the Owner Payments tab, here you can see how the payments are split, what's due to the owner and what commission you're going to take. So our example owner is paying 15% commission on this booking, which for a £1,000 booking is £150. So you can see it's been split, so 50% of the total commission, so 50% of £150, £75 is being taken from the deposit as commission, and the remaining 50%, £75, taken from the balance. To explain how these other fields work, the payment priority field allows you to specify whether the commission or the owner payment should take priority in any instance where the deposit payment amount is too low to cover both. The payment date fields relate to when the deposit payment will show on the owner's statement as due to be paid. This isn't the same date you will physically pay the owner. So for example, if you take the guest deposit at time of booking, you can set this to 0 days after booking date to pay owner. And the deposit payment will then show on the statement on the day the booking was placed and the deposit payment paid. If you tick this checkbox, it will adjust the date the payment shows in the owner's statement if the guest is maybe early or late making their deposit payment. So this ensures you're not going to make payment to the owner before you have received payment from the guest. The other option you have if you want to take a percentage of your commission from the customer's deposit is this one, percentage commission taken from customer's deposit. Once again, in an £1,000 booking with a deposit of £250 and a balance of £750, you can see how this has been calculated. The 15% commission for the total booking, or £150 in this example, has been split. So 15% of the total deposit is taken as commission, and the remainder of the commission still due is then taken at time of balance. This is calculated dependent on the owner's total commission figure. So if the owner was paying 10% commission for the booking, then 10% of the deposit would be taken as commission, and then the remainder of the total figure left due would be taken at time of balance. Again, for this setting, you should set a payment date. And if you want the owner to be paid the remainder of the guest deposit once the commission has been taken, you should tick this checkbox. If this isn't ticked, you can see that the owner isn't paid any of the deposit. They only receive a balance payment. If you want to create a custom split between commission and owner payment, you can select this option here. So for example, you might want to pay the owner 15% of the deposit, and you want to take all of your commission, so 100% of your commission, from the deposit. So again, you can see in our £1,000 example booking how this is applied. You are taking your full commission of £150 from the deposit, and the owner is being paid 15% of the £250 customer deposit. If you want to pay the owner a fixed amount of the guest deposit, you should select this option. Enter the fixed amount you want to pay the owner from the deposit, and then all your commission is collected at time of balance. Again, in our £1,000 example booking, you can see how this has been applied. £100 of the deposit is being paid to the owner. You're not taking any commission at this point. The remainder of the balance is then paid to the owner minus your full £150 or 15% commission. If you use interim payments, you can add your interim payment settings here. Next, commission on balance settings. If you take all your commission at time of deposit, then you should leave this option selected, no owner payment or commission on balance. If you want to pay your owners their balance payment before arrival date, you should select this option and add how many days prior to arrival the owner should be paid. Again, payment date in this section refers to the date you want the balance payment to the owner to show on the owner's statement, not the day you're physically going to pay the owner. Ticking this checkbox, update date on customer balance payment, works the same way as the adjust date based on guest deposit payment we looked at in the section above. So if the guest's late or early paying their balance, it won't show on the owner's statement as due to be paid until it has actually been paid by the guest. If you want to pay the owner their balance payment after arrival date, you should select this setting. Select how many days after arrival the owner should be paid. If you want to pay the owner their balance payment after departure date, select this setting and enter how many days after departure the owner should be paid. Or finally, if you want to pay the owner the balance payment after the date of booking, select this option and add in how many days after the date of booking the owner should be paid. We'd always strongly advise ensuring you don't pay your owners until you have received payments from the guest. You should consider this when you're completing these settings. If you don't do this and a guest fails to pay for their booking, and you have already paid the owner, you'll have to create manual chargebacks in these instances. You can save these commission settings that you've just created as your default commission settings by ticking this checkbox, which means any new owners you add going forward will have these settings automatically applied. You can also copy the updated settings to all owners already in your account by clicking this button. Be aware that this will update the settings under the whole payment details section, including the commission percentage. Click Save at the bottom of the page once you've finished adding your commission settings. If you need to update your commission settings for an existing owner, go to Agency, Edit Owners. Click the Edit button to enter the settings page for the specific owner. Make the necessary changes required and then click Save at the bottom of the page to update. If you need to update the commission in existing bookings based on any new settings you've added for this owner, you can do this by clicking this link here, Update Commission on Bookings. You can filter bookings by various criteria, so you only include bookings which need updated rather than all bookings placed for that owner's property. If you have changed the commission settings for all owners and need to update the commission and bookings for all properties, you can contact us and we'll be able to do this for you using this setting. It's a SuperControl admin only setting, which means you won't see it in your account. Please note that you can only update commission on bookings where the payments have not already been marked as paid to the owner.